In the studio we have political analyst Phumlani Majozi.
Great to see you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you so much.
And so what did you think last night? It was all a bit about, well, we knew it was coming, but it was a bit of a surprise.
It was, at least, but though it was before 12 midnight. So
I was scared at one point that it was going to get to 12 midnight.
Yes, because it was delayed up to 10 p.m. Look, for me, I think the cabinet last night highlighted the limits of Ramaphosa's power within the ANC, right? Because I think there are names that should have been out. You know, Malusi Kigaba, I was quite, surprised and puzzled that
he told us he's going to be all right. He told us.
Well, he said, but also, I mean, he's been at Home Affairs before. He was at Public
And remember the scandal around Gupta happened when he was the Minister of Home Affairs. So, I mean, there were surprises there in terms of why did they stay. But Habile Dlamini, being shifted to the Ministry of Women and Children. So I think in that aspect, it did highlight the limits of his power. And I think when they spoke about consultation and so on, it was around the ANC sort of internally, as to what is that he can do and what is that he can't do. So in my view, it could have been, I think, he wanted to bring more changes, but given the political circumstances in the ANC, he couldn't go as far. But also remember, I was saying this even on radio this morning, that all this can be traced back to the outcome of the elective conference in December, because when you look at the outcome of the presidential contest, it was sort of half-half. NEC was sort of half-half in terms of it was many people in the NEC, about 50% of them were still sort of Zuma loyalists. Even the top six as well, Esma Kashule, David Mabuza, who wasn't sort of getting closer to the conference and so on, Jesse Duarte. So even the ANC top six itself, it was sort of very close in the sense that Zuma loyalists became, they still sort of retained a lot of power, post them based on the outcome of the conference. So you can trace it back there, basically.
It was like 50-50 the top six,
yes,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, having said that, having been at the elective conference in December, one thing I thought, I've been bringing back Tlantlanene and Pravin Gordhan, people who were persona non grata only a year ago. I thought maybe it could have been worse than it was, in the fact you could have had more Zuma loyalists just to appease some of the party members. But I think the wheel is slowly turning. And I'm convinced still that a lot of these politicians, it's their career, they want to stick on the side of power and they'll all go over. And again, some of the people that you've mentioned who stayed in, Malusi Kigaba, Bathabili Dlamini, I think the expression could be they'll keep until later. I mean, how do we know that they won't be shuffled out quietly in 6 months or a year's time?
Yeah, and some say that even the Ministry of Women as well could be dismantled because he wants to somehow slash the cabinet and make it quite smaller.
Would that be smart, though? Because the Ministry of Women is a strategic move to ensure that the women's votes is secured in the 2019 election.
Well, I'm just saying possibly whether which ministry slashes down, we don't know. As to we're going to have to wait and see what ministry he cuts down and how he minimizes his cabinet. But I think Chris is right. Over the year, I think we will see some sort of, I think the outcome of the ANC sort of made Ramaphosa to be constrained in terms of being quick to fasten things as would have liked them to go through, in my view. So things will sort of turn out quite slowly. We should be given time this year to see how things flow and how it goes about, bringing changes to the ANC. But I think at the end of the day, it was a compromise sort of cabinet last night. We did see that. But most importantly, though, I think the return of Tlantlanene does bring some sort of stability. He's liked by investors internationally as well, SOEs as well. So I think those are very important ministries. Because even my friends in the US and UK, they're asking me about, what's going on with ESCOM, what's going on with SOEs and so on. So those ministries are very much key in terms of stabilizing them, in terms of making sure that we have people who are experienced, people who can sort of because right now they're in crisis and they need to be managed, and our economy is not doing all right.
But if I could quote one of your fellow political analysts to you now, you can try and guess who it is, but he says, this is a disastrous compromise. He will really have to explain this to the nation. I mean, my first, when I read that, I thought, isn't it going a bit too far?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you kept the cabinet pretty much the same, you could say, fine, fair enough.
Yeah. You see, I will say this. I think the public opinion understands the dynamics of the ANC. My view is that given the whole political circumstances surrounding the ANC and Ramaphosa and so on, I think the public opinion is mainly around, Ramaposa, and saying that, oh, come on, I mean, what could the guy do? I mean, the ANC conference decided to bring back many of the Zuma loyalists and so on. I mean, he has to compromise. What else can he do? So I've been checking online as well that the public opinion and those many people are saying that what else could he do? So they sort of side with Ramaphosa, understanding that this is how far he could go given the political circumstances within the ANC.
I would also disagree with you because at the gym this morning, some of the ladies were like, I mean, I woke up and I found out that Bathabile Dlamini is still a minister, and I found out that Malusi Gigaba is still a minister. So I think the public view is very split. But Phumlani, my question to you is, last we spoke, you said that you don't understand why some people would continue to remain loyal to Zuma because he's out. He left.
He's sinking.
But he's sinking. The fact that we still have a Ramaposa now who's having to appoint a cabinet that is still split, it shows that there are still quite a lot of Zuma loyalists there, even though the man is out.
And I just said I don't understand why they are still there. I mean, you are making a very important point. And I think it does show that Ramaphosa hasn't really had the grasp of power within the ANC, right? And remember that, you see, the thing is, many of the people in the ANC, there is so much that they are implicated in, right? Such that for them to just, get along the issue of change and so on would come down to biting them at some point. So they are reluctant to sort of get on into Ramaphosa's board. And the question is, why are they going to do that? And for how long can they continue doing that? So in a way, that sort of constrains Ramaphosa in terms of bringing about the swift changes that he needs. This is all about the internal politics of the ANC that are making it difficult for him to bring the swift changes. And how long do those people that you are talking about, of which in large part you are exactly right, there are many people still, and last night's cabinet reshuffle did show that there's still some significant sort of limitations and pushbacks and so on. That Bathabile is in the cabinet is itself showing, and it shows that it is all about the politics of the ANC internally, that you can keep someone like Bathabile Dlamini. Someone was saying that this cabinet it didn't put the country first, it put the interests of the ANC. It's difficult to disagree with those people. They have a point to an extent. So I understand your points that you've raised, and I think many people look at it in that aspect as well, that there's so much ANC people, Zuma loyalists still in there.
But don't you think, I mean, let me tell you, I mean, I was with Cyril, we had dinner in Davos with everybody else, and the guy, I mean, if he was your uncle at a South African wedding, you'd have been proud to say so. He was there, he sat, he was very, very avuncular, well-spoken, shook hands with everybody, very warm, etc. Fine. But I think sometimes, don't you think he perhaps got a bit more cunning than perhaps people give him credit for? I mean, you look at the day Zuma resigned. On that day, just so happened, the Hawks swept in and started investigating the Gupta residence and all that sort of stuff. That would never have happened in Zuma's day. And it just so happened on the day that he resigned. Wasn't it Cyril's way of saying, well, I'm sorry, mate, it's over, you're nothing, and I'm doing what I like now?
You see, with Ramaposa, and I think we will see some sort of, we are already seeing it, raising the Hawks, rating the people affiliated with Gupta and having those few, I think they made about 3 arrests or something. I think it's a push in the sense that he wants to have at least from an institutional perspective, the Hawks, the NPA and so on, he has to take those things, head on, because I think those things are separate. Our institutions, Chapter 9 institutions, have to be separated from politics, from ANC politics, right? So he has to, on that aspect, that's where I think last night with the cabinet reshuffle, which we saw the power of the incumbency and the limitations around Ramaphosa's a situation in the ANC. And I think when it comes to corruption fight as well, his presidential powers to have an influence in institutions like NPA and so on, appointing the NDPP and so on, that's where we will see, how far he exercises his power, And at the end of the day, and I do argue that even those people, Jacob Zuma for close to 10 years now, he has been trying by all means to escape the courts and avoid, having his day in court, using his presidential powers. He has lost that. So I think at the end of the day, even those people who are implicated, from Ace Makashule, top of the ANC leadership, down to whoever, it will eventually get there, because we cannot have, our institutions are not, somehow, at least our democracy allows a situation where they are separate or they are delinked from any political sort of political interference and so on. President Jacob Zuma did try to do that. For many years, it didn't work out. Even the judiciary, they couldn't give him, even a chance. He lost his cases. He lost his, a lot of. He just couldn't get. He couldn't get hold of our institutions. And
but Phumlani, the opportunity cost of Ramaposa extending his hand like that, doing the right thing, is unity. And can a divided ANC win the 2019 elections?
It's going to be difficult for them to win the 2019 elections. And last night's cabinet as well, it showed exactly that I think they're here to weigh the politics internally as to how do we go forward in terms of preparing us to go into 2019. But at the end of the day, I just think that comes with a cost for the ANC, because it's difficult for you to continue to speak about renewal and change when we have people like Bathabile Dlamini and Malusi Gigaba and others as well who have been controversial. So at the end of the day, the cost is there for the ANC. If it chooses unity, as we saw last night that the cabinet, it had that element of saying we need to unite, appoint some people who were sort of under at least supported Jacob Zuma leading up to December. But still, there's a cost to that, because their image and their seriousness about renewal and change goes to a limited extent than it could have been.
Tell me something, with all that you've seen and all that you've heard, how do you see Sir Ramaposa in a year's time, when all this euphoria has died down, the party is settled? Where do you think he's going to be?
I think Ramaposa has a chance, to be frank with you. He does have a chance he has already sort of re-energized many people in the country, especially the members of the ANC and many people I interact with, who have been disillusioned by Jacob Zuma over the years. So he brings back that energy, and over the year, and I think he will continue, because he knows. Last night, someone was saying he wasn't Ramaphosa last night when he was giving his speech. I said maybe it could be that he was really uncomfortable reading with the list of the appointments that he made. But I think over the year, he will, my projection is that he will phase in slow changes that will sort of, given the political circumstances, that will allow him to bring changes in the ANC.
But I think when he walked out and said, despite what you all think, we haven't been consulting Sangomas for this, I thought that showed Cyril's kind of, how can I put it, down-to-earth humour.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that also, I don't know, I mean, I think he's got a much better chance of carrying people along in this country, I think, than probably anybody else.
You see, here's what I say. I always say that Ramaposa right now, given the excitement over him, right, given the euphoria that you've just mentioned now, I think this ought to be his time now to make critical, unpopular decisions while we are still popular with the public.
Sure.
So that he brings those tough changes in place right now while he's still popular, because he does have.
He already has, and he's announced an increase in VAT.
Yes, people already like him. So they will disagree, but then a bit. Refrain to an extent from doing that. So he does have a chance, and I think his powerful personality, he has to use that to bring about serious changes in the ANC, in my view.
I mean, what about, there's a lot of criticism that, there aren't any women in key economic clusters. I mean, how long for will we sit with a situation whereby, we don't have a female finance minister, we don't have a female,
We do have Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma in the presidency.
One, so we should be happy with one.
No, I'm not saying we should be happy with one. I was just, well, I mean, this is a challenge for the ANC, right, politically. They have to try and bring about, because, I mean, building up to this, there was at least some hope that we'll see Naledi Pandor possibly being the deputy president, or Lindiwe Sisulu. It never happened. They were moved into different ministries. So, I mean, it's a challenge for the ANC as to how then they bring about that diversity. You know, they bring about more women. And it's an ANC tradition. I wasn't surprised that David Mabuza would be the deputy president of the country, because it's an ANC tradition that the deputy president of the party becomes the deputy president of the country as well. So we will see how that goes. But I mean, it's a serious challenge for the ANC in terms of bringing more women and more diversity in its, especially building up to 2019 elections, and to show that they want to bring diversity to the party and reflect everybody in South Africa.
But I was just thinking about that last night during the reshuffle. I think this tradition of the deputy becoming the next president, I think that was something that was born in Mandela's day.
Stone Ages.
And I think, yeah, and I don't know whether it's, I mean, you look at Cyril, as I was saying earlier in the program, Cyril was in danger of not making it. People said he had no chance. People said he wasn't going to get the panel spot. Phumlani Zuma was going to get it instead of him. So I don't know whether David Mabuza will definitely, in 10 years' time, take over as president. I don't know. But
don't you think he's going to fight for that?
Well, yeah, I think he is.
I mean, Mkhize is also going to be on that fight.
There's a lot of people.
I mean, but you are raising a very important point. What this highlights is that the ANC 2024, there's going to be still a serious fight, even beyond that. Because, I mean, the rise of David Mabuza, he certainly does want to become president of the country, of the country one day. So we are still going to see over the years serious battles between the ANC. And the shake-up that we saw last year, a very sort of brutal contestation towards the December conference, we're going to see in years to come such, you know, brutal contestations as well. Let's expect that. Because already right now we are seeing the sign and the rise of David Mabuza and others, William Mkhize as well.
Who claimed he didn't want to be deputy president.
Yeah, I saw that report. He claimed that.
Yeah, well, he sort of stepped up, stepped down. I don't know.
See, so, I mean, this is just for the ANC. There's a long road ahead. This is not, we're still going to see a lot of to talk about in years to come.